So I'm really happy today to be speaking with Joseph Tebandeke from Kampala in Uganda. And here we sit in Durban at the JOMBA festival, and it's wonderful to have you here as an artist. So Joseph, if you can start by telling us, how did you get into integrated dance?
Yes, I'll start by thanking you for giving me this opportunity, and me being here, it means a lot. Thank you. How I got into integrated dance, it's a long story, but I started in athletics. I was an athlete who got 3 gold medals, and I was always, I think I was raised by the society I was around. And I'm glad that I grew up in this society that had a lot of challenges, that was very discriminative, that did not understand me. I'm glad that I grew up in such a society, because it brought me into the person I am. It was always a life of proving to everyone around me that I need to live, I'm worth living, you know, I can do something, don't be sorry for me, let me work, you know, give me an opportunity, you know. So I always felt like I need to do something huge to tell the people around me, like, come on guys, I can make it too, like, stop treating me like this vulnerable person, you know. It always brought me down. So this is why I joined sports, and I went into an athlete. I love competitive stuff, I love it. And I really did it very well, to an extent that I had a very huge following that I did not notice that I had. And I started sharing with it, like, they kept on finding, like, can we have time to talk to you, these people with disabilities? And then I started something called an open space. And this open space came to, the numbers just grew. People could just come, and it was open to people with and without disabilities. People could just come to share, how was your day, how do you feel? It was as simple as that. It was just normal sharing. And I realized that the number was growing a lot because people don't have a lot to talk about, don't have people to talk with, you know, to share, and they have a lot to say. So it was a very interesting process for me, and I'm telling you this going to the question, how did I come to the integrated dance? And in this space, I met a lady. She was slightly small, I remember, and she stood up and said, Joseph, I've always wanted to ask you. I appreciate what you do. We love it. It motivates us. It gives us a reason to wake up every day to do something like you, so that we can be known on TV, to be fame. We love, like, you're being known. We would love people to recognize us too. But our bodies are weak. We can't all do sports. I'm telling you, this girl changed my life. And I didn't know what to tell her by that time. I remember that by that time I just told her, things will get better. I'll find your answer. Just give me time. Yeah. And in the course of the weeks, I was invited to the National Theatre. There was a workshop that was happening about dance, and in this workshop there was a lady from Sweden that had come to talk about contemporary dance. So I was just invited because they wanted the news to write that even Joseph, the athlete person, was at the event. That's the only reason why they invited me. But I'm glad they did, because I wasn't interested. I was there, but no, I had no interest in dance by that time. And I remember sitting at the back even. And they explained, they did the dancing, they talked about the traditional, the drumming, and the time came and this lady was given time. And she was explaining what contemporary dance is to her. It was to her. And what caught my soul was the way she was moving in space. She was making these beautiful movements, like making turns. And to me, I saw that she had life. She was herself. And I lost it inside my soul, I was like, this is the question to the girl. So this is how I got interested. Then after the class, I went and talked to the lady, and she was like, we have so many people with disabilities that dance, you know. So she started providing me information. Read this article, check here. And she introduced me to my first teacher, Oscar. And Oscar was open to me. He was like, yes, I teach dance, but not people with disabilities. But come to my classes, maybe you can pick something. And then I started picking the movement, how they move. And I'm like, how can I resonate? How can I take the movement into me? And since I was hungry, like I really wanted information because I had to take back the information somewhere. So it helped me to learn a lot about dance. And the more I continued digging, is the more I started to really love it. And I ended up, and the more I did it, the more it changed my life. Actually, the girl, the question actually she asked me, I think she was really trying to help me find my real calling in this world, I think. So yeah, that's how I ended up in dance.
And with that, Joseph, obviously you had a bit of training with Oscar and his...
Oscar, and with all these trainings, of course, in the course of like reading, going to different schools, then someone recommends you somewhere. Like, yeah, I think you're in the wrong place. Because we don't have any disability dance school. That's why I'm struggling to create a space that at least we can have something. We don't have any, not even one, you know. So, but I was always recommended to someone who has an idea and they could share or pass me information where I can go read it. And this is how I got to get different learnings. And then I got my first opportunity to Germany to go study with the group that had people with disabilities about dance. This was, yeah. And I was very excited. Everything was new to me, you know. But I learned a lot. It was a great experience for me, working with people in different cultures. Yeah, yeah, this is how it started, you know, dots link. You know, it got me thinking, like, when you're in the right place, things will just work automatically. Then from there, I started getting different invitations. And of course, it was still challenging, because when the school invites you, then they're like, you pay your ticket, you know, we'll give you accommodation, but, you know. So of course, it was still another challenge. Like, yes, I've got the opportunity, but then I need to look for the tickets and, you know, all of these per diems things. But I'm not complaining. I'm really very excited that I got to learn.
So Joseph, you don't have a dance company that you work with. You work with different people.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the different people you have worked with and how you choose to work with certain people?
Well, I would say I started as a freelancer because it was always hard for me to find already a moving group of people with disabilities. You know, it was hard for me to find any. Actually, I didn't. And in all doing this, people get interested in your, why are you doing it? Why are you even so eager to know this? Where is it taking you? You know, you're wasting time. You should get a job anyway. But then in all this process, like I started meeting people. I met Robert. He's a very interesting contemporary dancer. He's a researcher. And he welcomed me for who I am. Like, he didn't welcome me with the pity, like, he's a person with this, we should help him. No, no, no. He was like, yes, he saw, like, yes, you can dance. I've seen people dancing, and I think you're better than very many. So I got close to him because he's a very great dancer. He's traveled a lot of Europe. So we got really close, and I was getting a lot of information from. So I worked with Robert for a certain time. Then I also met Helen. and she loved what I was doing, and she was like, actually, we should start a dance group. And to me, my motive was like not to start a group. It was like, how do we pass on the information? Because I felt it was important to pass on what I know to the next people, you know, because we don't have it. So when we started a group, it moved for a certain time, and I felt like it's yes, it's called Splash Dance Company, it reached a moment where I feel like yes, it's not about how many people can get in, but how much information as a group can, you know, everyone can get the inspiration of what we are doing and to pass it on. So when I felt like it's independent, now we can go start other things, you know. So it's already there running slowly, of course, with also challenges of resources. But I also worked with, later Robert created a company called Dance Revolution East Africa, and actually right now I work there with him, and yeah, he gave me a department. He was like, I love what you're doing. I think you should head the disability department. So you should handle, we have no idea, we think you. So, and that's what I've been doing, creating works with, when they do a workshop, they always organize something for the disability, and we've been making a lot of noise to the festival makers in Uganda. When you make festivals, please organize something for people with disabilities, because they're out there too. Make them inspired. It's not about seeing people with disability dancing. It's not that. But let them see something, because I wasn't inspired by a person with a disability, you know. I would have loved really, you know, but then that wasn't the case. So it's not about, but always have that opportunity, give them that opportunity to come, you know. If the ticket is really 20 euros, make it half for people with disabilities, for them to be inspired, to move out of their comfort zone or from their rooms, they go out. Give them a reason, you know, we have to help push them. So this is how I came to start working with all these people.
Fantastic. You've also done quite a lot of site-specific responsive work. I'm thinking particularly of that one you did in the cars, you know, the broken down cars, you did that piece. So there's a lot of social engagement. It's not just work around disability, it's around all sorts of issues in the community that you place your body and you respond in those sites, which is, so have you created your own vocabulary, your own for dance? Because you say you've picked from here and from there of different training and different teachers, but ultimately when you choreograph, are you drawing off a vocabulary that you are developing, and is that the vocabulary you're exploring when you're teaching as well?
Like in the time, I've come to understand the bodies, and I find everybody to be very unique and beautiful, and this has pushed me, because this happened recently, that after some times I started questioning, yes, I dance, but who am I? It took me back to the self-actualization. And this helped me to start to create a language I understand, you know, because in this digging of wanting to know information, I've come to get a lot of exposure. For example, I'll give you a very good example, and don't get me wrong. You know, when in schools, when I was still growing and meeting all these people, when you ask them what is dance, they will be like, ballet, you know? And I'm like, yes, it is dance, but where do you come from? And they'll tell you. I say, do you have dance? Yes, but it's not dance. So to me, I feel like, I think we're misunderstanding who can dance and who cannot dance and what is dance, you know, and why do people dance? Because we have different perspectives and missions why we're even doing it, you know. So I feel like for me it has pushed me to create my own body language. How can I tell a story out there And for me, when I'm creating, it's always deeply excavated for me. You know, I'm getting what inside me already. So, but it has helped me to, I've created the body vocabulary for myself, and all in my teachings, and it's the experience I've picked and coming to realize where is the challenge and where is the problem. Because me to come up with the workshops, when I joined dance, by the time Uganda had a very huge group of dancers, but after COVID, it's hard to find a dancer in Uganda. And it kept me thinking, why? Why? And then I started searching, I started collecting another information, and it was totally different experience after this, you know. Yeah, and I've traveled to different countries, and I'm always invited that, Joseph, you're in Europe, but there is a person performing from Africa, from somewhere, you should see the show. And I always rush to the show. I'm like, yes, I've been to Europe so many times. Let me go connect. Let me feel at home. Let me relate. And you can't, because they're just doing a movement. You know, it's beautiful. They're dancing, they're moving, but then you can't relate, you know. And so when I joined that with the disappearing dances, then I realized why are we dancing? You know, are we doing it for money? Are we just doing the movement we already know? Because I feel everyone has a lineage. You've passed, information is being passed to you already, but you don't know it. You know, I always tell people, for example, that if you have depression inside you and you don't deal it, when you give birth to the children, you pass this depression to them without you noticing it. And at a certain age, they will start struggling with your problem. So that's why we need always to go in ourselves. You self-actualize who you really are. Yeah, so, yeah, this is how it came about, me understanding the body, my body vocabulary, and how can it help to understand and connect the community together.
So Joseph, when you're talking about excavating yourself, and you've also talked a little bit about attitudes towards disability in your community, and I think that's common in many communities where disabled people are seen as not contributing or being kept separate, not being fully integrated into the community or seen as worthwhile in the community. How do you think dance in particular as an embodied form can facilitate that integration, that sense of belonging for a person that is perceived as not fully belonging?
I'll use my personal experience, and I'll give you some examples to make this very clear. I grew up when the same challenges are happening. You know, the same accessibility, schools and ignorance and people with disability being tied up. And I realized that maybe we're doing it in the wrong way. We need to change the procedure or the process of doing things. Maybe we will create change. So I noticed that every time I do a workshop with people with and without disabilities, these groups, people never take time to be close to a person with a disability. They never get time to be together. They never get time to talk, because, you know, we humans, we always close out with things we don't understand, me too. But then now, being together, because dance is considered as an entertainment, having fun for yourself. So the more now you put them in the same space, they're dancing together, you're giving them tasks, they're getting to know my body, you know, they're getting to know where it hurts and why it hurts, causing this integration you're sharing, why it's happening. And by the end of the day, they leave the room when they're not afraid anymore of the person with a disability. And I think it's creating a huge impact. It's a small tech, but it's creating a huge impact. And the next day, this person will come with 3 more people without disabilities, you know, because they've explained it's not contagious, you know, yeah. So, and you find they become even close friends. They take it to the next level. Can we meet for tea, you know? Can I come and we go watch movies together, you know? Now they're getting even close. So now I feel like, yes, we need to change the way we're putting the information out there. Let's not force it on people. Let's do it in a more simpler way. And I think dance is creating a huge, huge, huge opportunity environment for this. Yes. Yeah.
But why dance? Why not like storytelling?
Yes. It's because when I'm dancing, I'm free. I'm myself. For me, I'm explaining what it makes me feel. When I'm moving, when I'm on stage, actually, I'm not even seeing the people around me. I feel like I'm connecting to my roots, you know? And the more I do that, or the more I fly, the more I make these turns, it brings out the real you, you know? This is my feeling every time I'm on stage. And why am I saying why dance? Because dance helps you to be yourself, to be the real you. You're not pretending anything. You're not faking a smile. If someone falls, we all laugh, and it's real. So I feel dance is giving us, it has that capability to bring us close, like really close, without telling people like, you need to handle me well, I'm not contagious. You don't need to say all that. Just tell people together like, can we move from this place to this together? How about I want to jump, but one of you can't. Can we help each other to, then they are touching, can I touch you here? Can you, so it has a lot of possibilities to bring people together without noticing, and then you're doing awareness, you know. You know, I've always noticed when I'm doing my workshops, like in the beginning of the classes, people will be distant, you know, the people without disabilities will be on the other side, and people with disabilities, you know, they will be, you know, and at the end, they walk out like crossing arms, touching each other. They don't want to let go because they've bonded, you know. So dance brings out the real you. It helps you to bond with whoever is around, you know. That's why it has a very huge opportunity. That's why I think dance is fantastic for me for changing the perspectives and creating awareness.
So bringing people together, allowing them to get to know each other in a non-confrontational way, really.
Yes. And they're dancing, I mean, they're having fun together. What else can bring people together when you're having fun? It's like food. Everyone loves food, you know. And when you're eating or cooking together, then it will be the simplest way to bring people together. Because then they're talking about their spices they don't like, and you know, then it's very easy to bond and understand each other in a simpler way than being, we want this, I'm also human. This has been there for generations, and I think it's not working. Yeah.
Really interesting thoughts. So bringing people together is also important in terms of the artists that are doing this work. So there are various artists in the continent. You've mentioned some in Uganda. Here in South Africa, we know Leanne Lutz has got her company with Flatfoot Downies, and Mute Dance have been doing the work. We know on Diego Matthew in Kenya. But you all work in your own way and in different ways, working with different bodies and people and communities. What do you think is the value? Do you think it's valuable to bring you as artists together?
This is my perspective. I think artists have a huge chance, have power to create change in certain things and in a simpler way. When we bring artists together, because I'm a very deeply spiritual person, in everything I do, I feel it's connecting me somewhere. It's when I'm dancing, it's taking me to a different world. And this is my working, you know. And when you go to Rian Rhodes, she has her own working, and it's also like rooted somewhere, you know. It's strong. And when you go to Kenya, they have their perspective, and it's also creating an impact. So now imagine all these strong forces being brought together to have something, then I think it creates even a better difference, you know. We're always strong when we're many, everyone knows this. So when we as a group, we're stronger. Yes, you're strong alone, but then when you're working as a group, it's more stronger. So I think it's a great, it's a big thing, yeah.
Yeah. So what are the challenges of this work that you've encountered?
As a person who is based in Africa, you see that most of South Africa is different, but you see that in most of the other African countries, let me say East Africa, let me talk about East Africa, we don't have resources for artists. And this is very key, because as an artist, being an artist, it's a full-time job. I've seen people always saying, I love art, but you know, I have to go to work and then come back, think of something. And then those people will always, because I've really come to realize, the more you live as an artist, the more you live the space, it doesn't matter for how long. You come back when it has changed a lot. And then you need time to learn. Then every time you're learning or you're trying to adapt, and you're not getting time to fly in the same space. So I think being an artist, it's a full-time job. And still as an artist in East Africa, people don't understand the art. They don't appreciate it. They love it, they will smile, but the appreciation. So it means you need something to fund, you need resources, because creating this work, you need time. You need to do research, you know. You need to create a residence that you will create all these researches, and you need to eat in this time, you know. You need to be able to find all these props that are going to be able to bring out the real message that you want to bring. So if you find that all these resources, for example, you will see, like, I'll give an example in Europe. In Europe, you see that you have the Arts Council, you'll have the grants, you'll have the organizations that are funding arts, like, you know, so you have like the hierarchies of fundings, you know, and you can't find like not even one in Africa. So it makes it, this is very important, it makes it hard. Remember that I have to fight for every space like has everyone else in, you know. And you find that the only studio that will be there, it's on the 3rd floor. I'll be motivated, yes, I'm passionate, but doing that for 2 weeks, then you start to lose it. Because then by the time you reach up there, your body can't move anymore, you know. So the accessibility, so, you know, and it also, sometimes it's a hard challenge, and with all this accessibility and all these community perspectives, you know, every time you start to perform, and people, since they don't understand your art, then the way they perceive it is also, but I don't care how people will perceive the art, but I think it's also another challenge about the awareness, about the art and the disability. So it's also a huge challenge of explaining something to someone who doesn't understand it. So it's also like we need to make people more aware about our disabilities or about the art, you know.
Thank you for sharing those challenges. There are a number of them, and of course, resources is huge. But you also mentioned audiences and communities not really understanding what you're doing and how this is art and what dance is. So can you tell us a little bit about how you enable audiences or encourage audiences to come and see your work and feel free and not so afraid to actually look at you and your work? Because often we are told not to look at people. You know, don't stare, don't look. How do we enable people to look, to engage with this work?
There's something I want to start with so that I don't forget it, but maybe I bring it later. In all the process of creating, I tried to make, first of all, in our dance world, we have so many ways of creating and coming up with the work. But first of all, with all these groups I've inspired to start, all the trainings or the groups I meet to do the classes, I always first of all try to make it simple and precise. You know, art has so many ways, being abstract, but I try to make it very clear. And I also try to work with people around the community. Where is the focus I want to be, or if when I've got money to work, where do I want my focus? Then I try to get people from that community. The reason why I do that is immediately I know they will get relatives, friends, or their family, some of their family members, to come watch. Secondly, I always try to do the street work or roadside. It doesn't matter, because we have, I'll say we have a pleasure, or we have a great opportunity that once you're doing something in Uganda that is strange, people will stand to see it, which I find beautiful. I also use that opportunity too. And so once I'm doing this, people are standing and it's clear. And immediately after the performance, I get in and I'm like, do you mind you give us 2 minutes just to tell me how you think it was? And people would start to share. I think I don't understand it, but the way someone on the wheelchair jumped off the wheelchair, that's dangerous. I said, but yeah, it is, but you know, they have safe spaces where they dance from which we don't have. But it was beautiful, right? Yes, I think we need to ask the government to create those safe spaces, because I really want to continue seeing such things. Actually, where do you train from, you know? So now this is how we get people engaged. And I'm like, actually, and we always tell people, maybe you're busy, but you can send your child, if it's free, to come on such and such a day to see or to create something with us. So this is how I try to engage and in performance way. And second of all, I engage them during performances, because I try to really, I try, and I would love to keep doing these workshops to be moving. Because I advertise and say, come see, come let's dance together in this workshop. I don't explain what it is. And when these people come, they get to learn a lot, as I explained earlier in these workshops. So I'm engaging them already. And after that, I always share, what didn't you like? What did you like? You know, and you will end up people saying, how can we help? You know, and actually most of these classes I've been doing, the workshops, I've never get any international grant or a funding, but it's from people say, how can I? Because I want it to happen again, because sometimes I don't do it, I'm supposed to, because it's making me broke on all the money I get from the performance. I really love to do this awareness and these workshops, because I see it's creating a massive change, you know, so that's why I put into it. But then sometimes I don't do it, and people will ask me, how can we help? You know, it's like, oh, we need, of course, to hire this. We need to hire this safe space for both of you. We need, and I'll be like, how much is it? And then, okay, we collect some money and we do it at least once. So, which is also good. So now I'm engaging people, and whoever is engaged starts to dig even more. If you don't do it, who else does it? And then I'm like, there is a group here. Actually, you can start this small. And yeah, so this is how I've been engaging people. When you are starting asking me a question, you mentioned something that caught my mind. Like, yes, we are always told not to look. Really, I want to make this very clear, that we should let people look. We should let children look. We should let children ask. When a person, or in any situation, you will see someone with a disability, and kids are curious, which is a very beautiful thing. Kids will go and say, Mama, why is she willing and I'm not? Oh, Mama, look at, you know, and the parents will, shh, don't take my, you know. Immediately, what you're doing is shushing this child. Is you're creating fear. You're creating a sense of shameness, you know, in this child. That disability is something we shouldn't talk about in public. Now this child will grow. Now you're planting another bad seed in this child. And I think we should let children be children. Children are curious because they want to learn. If we stop them from learning now, which world do we want to build, you know? So you have to ask yourself. So we should let children be children. If they ask, I always give an example of my son. I have a sweet little boy, he's 4 years now. And one time he asked me, Daddy, why do you always have those? And I looked at him, I was like, he's small, he won't remember it. But I said, I'll tell him anyway. And I explained. I was diagnosed with polio, which like affected my left leg. I couldn't move without support, and this is my support. So parts of my body, I give it respect, because without it, I explained it. And he ran around, running, when I was still actually explaining. And I'm like, yeah, I know it. He couldn't get it. But something shocked me. I was in a restaurant. I always take him to eat out sometime. And we were sitting, and there came a gentleman who had crutches. And after eating, this gentleman tried to stand up like he was really struggling. My son stood up very fast. He pushed his chair, and he ran to this gentleman, and he's like, hey, sir, you need this to get up. I was shocked, and I felt like crying. You know, I felt, and this guy smiled. I still remember the smile on this guy's face, and like, where are you from, cute kid? You know, not because the kid was cute, but the understanding. This is all people need to understand. He kept on, he went out smiling the whole, you know, I can imagine how it feels. So it shocked me that he still remembers that, maybe daddy has the same condition, but he needs help too, because he's using a crutch or a wheelchair. So he has a respect for the crutch, and it's not a shame. So this is how much kids learn. So I think we should let kids.
I agree with you, and I think that's why dance is really important, because dance insists that you look. Yes. It makes you look. You have to look.
You have to look. You have to work together. And you can't work together without looking, you know.
And if we're an audience, we're there to look. That's what we must do. So if you're an audience member, you have no option but to look.
That's why I find dance amazing.
Yeah. And I agree with you that we are educating citizenship. So when you say don't look, you are teaching people that some people are not us. And when you say explain or engage, then you're teaching people that they are one of us. you know. So it is about citizenship, and the work that you're doing is profound on that level, about widening the idea of who can be part of, belong to our community, and who can be a dancer, who can, you know, we all dancers. We all artists, even if we draw funny. We all singers, even if we have funny voices. Because we're made, you know, we were made to have all those capacities. It's just sometimes the capacity is more or less.
Yes.
And I really like that we all have something that we bring, and that this work is bringing that out. My last question to you, Joseph, is how do you think this work has affected your sense of your everyday life? Has it impacted you on your everyday life?
First of all, I think it has brought me into a world that it has given me a lot of exposure. There are things that didn't make sense when I was growing up or being in a society, but it, like, this impact, this dance, this exposure, all the interaction and sharing and dancing with all these different cultures, it has made me learn things that I wish I knew a bit earlier. Yes, I think it has changed my life a lot, to an extent that I've realized that in East Africa, in Uganda, let me say, that we need, our generations, we need to fight hard to educate ourselves, because I think we're having wrong information, not only on dance. No, this is general. I think we need it, because it has opened my eyes to so many things. You know, I'll share something. When I'm home, people think traveling to Europe is a place of wonders. It's a place where you collect money on street. Yes, they do. Think if you travel to Europe, just you flying, like, zoop, you've made it in life. But actually it has taught me a lot, that the more you go to a different level, the more you get even the harder challenges. To me, it doesn't feel like a success, because to me, it's another kind of struggling. It's another kind of fitting in, you know. It's on a different level. You know, we're always complaining about, you know, I don't fit in. But then here you also don't fit in, but on another perspective, you know. You see they have all the accessibility, they're hospitalized, but they're also having their own challenges, people with disabilities there, you know. So it has opened my eyes a lot, which I think we need to educate ourselves a lot. And we have also people in Europe that don't have the awareness about disability. So many times when I'm at the border, they ask me, why are you here? And I'm here to dance. And they're like, but you. I say, yes, I'm on crutches, but I'm here to dance. And then they're laughing. Can you dance for us? And then, for me, that's a different perspective. I'm like, am I a crone, you know? Now, am I here to make fun? They think it's funny, you know? Oh, I'm struggling to go where I'm not invited, where I'm not welcomed, you know. So I'm getting a lot of exposure in this world, and I'm glad that I'm in this field, because it's opening up my mind a lot. Meeting smart, like intelligent people like you, like Leanne, is really opening up. It has changed my world totally, and it has helped me to see that we can do things in a different way if we want to create some small impact.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experiences, your work, your approach to things, your passion, and yeah, thank you for just being part of the network, and it's been lovely to get to know you as an artist, and I really enjoyed your workshop today, so thank you very much, Joseph.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.